Imagine it's past midnight. A lone 17-year-old girl pedals her bicycle down an empty street, tears in her eyes. Clutched in her pocket is a crumpled goodbye note. She's decided this will be her last night on Earth. But fate has other plans. Suddenly, a hand lunges out of the darkness and yanks her off the bike. A cold metal gun presses to her temple. Her heart stops. Just hours ago, she wanted to die. Now she's begging to live. Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we bring you an unbelievable true story of survival. The story of Lisa McVey, the teenage girl who outsmarted a serial killer, and in doing so, saved her own life. This is a journey through despair, resilience, and a twist of fate so profound it's hard to believe it really happened. Lisa McVey's life was already a nightmare before that night. She grew up in Tampa, Florida, and by 17 she had endured more than most of us could fathom. For 3 years she had been suffering abuse at home, preyed upon by a man she should have been able to trust. This trauma pushed Lisa into a deep despair. She felt invisible, broken, and hopeless. In late 1984, overwhelmed and depressed, Lisa reached a heartbreaking decision. She would end her life. She even wrote a suicide note, a final cry of pain that no one would see, or so she thought. On November 3rd, 1984, Lisa went to work at a local Krispy Kreme donut shop, hiding her turmoil behind polite smiles. She worked a double shift and left around 2 a.m. It was a Saturday morning, technically. The world around her was silent. As she got on her bicycle to head home, that suicide note was waiting for her back in her room. Riding through the darkness, Lisa felt numb. This is it, she told herself, but life can be cruelly ironic. Just when she thought her suffering would finally end, it was about to escalate beyond her worst nightmares. As Lisa pedaled past a church parking lot on her route, a shadow moved behind her. Before she could react, an arm wrapped around her and a gun barrel pressed against her head. Lisa didn't even have time to scream properly. A harsh voice snarled, "Shut up, or I'll blow your brains out." In an instant, Lisa was yanked off her bike, as if she weighed nothing. Terror exploded inside her. This wasn't some cruel prank or robbery. It felt personal, predatory. The attacker shoved Lisa into his car, a red Dodge Magnum, and sped off. She was trapped. The world she knew vanished in seconds, replaced by the claustrophobic horror of a car trunk. Her hands bound, a blindfold slashed across her eyes. The smell of old cigarette smoke and something sickly sweet filled her nose. Lisa's mind raced with panic. Who is this man? What does he want? She had heard news reports of a serial killer stalking young women in Tampa, and now she was in his clutches. That serial killer's name was Bobby Joe Long, though Lisa didn't know it yet. Long had been terrorizing the area for 8 months, abducting, sexually assaulting, and murdering women in Tampa. 10 women were already dead by his hands, and now Lisa was to be number 11, another nameless victim, unless she could do the unthinkable. Huddled in the dark, Lisa thought this was how she would die. The very thing she thought she wanted, death, was now staring her in the face, and she realized she didn't want to die at all. In that moment of absolute horror, Lisa whispered a desperate prayer. "God, whatever you do, just don't kill me." It was the first time in a long time she'd truly prayed to live. The car stopped. Lisa felt herself dragged into an apartment. The blindfold stayed on. She could only sense shapes and sounds. Thus began 26 hours of pure terror. Bobby Joe Long was merciless. He tied Lisa to his bed. He assaulted her repeatedly, inflicting unspeakable trauma that Lisa had already known too well in her short life. But even as she endured the worst abuse imaginable, a spark ignited inside Lisa, the will to survive. Many might have been paralyzed by fear, but Lisa's mind became razor sharp. She knew this was a make or break moment. Either she would die in that apartment, or she would find a way out. And Lisa was determined it would be the latter. She remembered something crucial. She had survived years of abuse at home, In a twisted way, that past suffering had steeled her for this moment. A strange calm washed over her. She realized that panic wouldn't save her. But maybe, just maybe, her wits could. Lisa began observing everything she could, even blindfolded. If she got out alive, she wanted to ID this monster. Under the blindfold, she occasionally peeped out, just enough to catch glimpses. The make of his car. She saw the emblem of a Dodge and the car's red interior carpet. The route's twists and turns as he drove, and later, small details in his apartment. The apartment had certain features, perhaps a strange odor or the sound of nearby traffic. Lisa catalogued it all in her mind. She even left her fingerprints on surfaces whenever she could, silently planting clues in case she didn't survive. This incredibly brave teen was thinking like an investigator while being held at gunpoint. A truly remarkable presence of mind. But Lisa's greatest weapon would be psychology. Bound and terrified, she somehow mustered the strength to talk to her captor. She spoke softly, fighting through her own fear. Instead of screaming or begging aimlessly, Lisa did something unexpected. She showed compassion. To him. She said her name. She told this violent stranger that she understood him, that she cared. She even offered to be his secret girlfriend, so he wouldn't have to hurt other women. At first, the killer was unmoved, but Lisa persisted. She remembered the one thing he said, that he hurt women to get back at women, some twisted revenge for his own heartbreaks. Sensing a crack in his armor, Lisa played into his emotions. She invented a story about herself. Through muffled sobs, she told him she was the only child of a very sick, dying father. That if she didn't come home, her dad would be all alone and heartbroken. It was a lie, but a life-saving one. She spoke of this imaginary sick father with such pleading sincerity that something shifted in Bobby Joe Long. Lisa could almost feel his anger softening, his grip loosening. Incredibly, her tactic worked. It touched something human in a man who had behaved like a monster. By making herself a real person in his eyes, someone he might feel pity for, Lisa planted a seed of mercy. Daisy. "It saved my life," she later said of the sympathetic story she spun. After what must have felt like an eternity of horror, the next evening Bobby Joe Long made an unexpected decision. He decided to let Lisa go. Just like that. He had never spared a victim before. Something about this brave young woman had stayed his hand. Perhaps her gentle understanding, or the fiction of the ailing father, or maybe the sheer courage in her eyes, awakened a shred of empathy in him. Long forced Lisa back into his car. She was still blindfolded, now dressed again in her own clothes. Her heart thundered. Was he truly going to release her, or was this another cruel trick? They drove in tense silence through the early morning hours. Then, in a suburban area, the car rolled to a stop. "Listen carefully," Long muttered. He warned Lisa not to remove the blindfold for 5 minutes. Then he opened the door, shoved her out onto a sidewalk, and drove away into the night. For a long moment, Lisa stood there, blindfold on, not daring to believe it was real. When the sound of the engine faded, she tore the blindfold off. She was free. It was 4:30 a.m. on November 4th, 1984. Lisa McVey, who just a day before had wanted to die, had fought to stay alive and miraculously survived the clutches of a serial killer. Lisa ran home to her grandmother's house, sobbing with relief. But in a cruel twist, her nightmare wasn't quite over. When she burst in and told her guardians what happened, they didn't believe her at first. In fact, her grandmother's boyfriend, the very man who had been abusing Lisa, angrily accused her of lying and even beat her for making up stories. Imagine surviving something so unimaginable, only to be met with violence and doubt at home. It was a devastating blow. But Lisa persisted through that too, insisting on calling the police. She knew this was bigger than her. Tampa had a serial killer on the loose, and she held the key to stopping him. When the police finally arrived, Lisa told them everything. Every tiny detail she had memorized spilled out. The red Dodge Magnum car, the feel of the car's red carpeting, the route with so many turns and stops, the things she glimpsed in his apartment. even the scar on her captor's face she had felt briefly.
Detectives listened in astonishment. This teenager was providing the first real break in a case that had stumped them for months. The mention of red carpet fibers made their eyes widen. They had found identical fibers on multiple victims before. Lisa's account confirmed they were dealing with the same man. Finally, they had leads to trace, a description of the vehicle and a general area to stake out.
Within just 2 weeks of Lisa's escape, police zeroed in on Bobby Joe Long. They canvassed every red Dodge Magnum owner in the region, and on November 16, 1984, officers spotted the car at a movie theater. In a tense operation, they arrested Bobby Joe Long as he walked out, ending his killing spree for good. The relief that swept through Tampa was palpable. This predator had claimed at least 10 lives, but Lisa McVey's courage stopped him. Had she not kept her cool and provided those clues, who knows how many more innocent women might have died. Lisa was hailed as a hero by law enforcement. Remember, she was only 17. Yet her presence of mind under unfathomable duress saved lives. The very police squad that had been hunting the serial killer for months owed their breakthrough to Lisa. And Lisa's personal battle was only beginning. But this time, it was a fight to reclaim her life, not end it. In the days and years after her ordeal, Lisa McVey faced a long road of healing. What she went through would leave invisible scars on anyone. She had to cope with trauma, PTSD, and rebuilding trust in the world. Yet Lisa did something extraordinary with her second chance at life. She transformed her pain into purpose. The same girl who once felt life wasn't worth living became a woman determined to protect and uplift others. Lisa decided to follow in the footsteps of the officers who rescued her. She trained to become a law enforcement officer herself, inspired directly by her experience. The spark had been lit that dreadful night. The will not just to survive, but to help others survive too. By 2004, Lisa McVey, now Lisa Noland after marriage, was deputized as a sheriff's deputy in Hillsborough County, Florida, the very same department that had arrested her kidnapper years before.
Think about that remarkable full circle. A terrified girl who once lay bound and blindfolded, now proudly wearing a badge, sworn to protect people from the kind of evil she endured. As a school resource officer and a motivational speaker, Lisa shares her story to teach others about survival and hope. She speaks to at-risk teens, telling them, "If I can live through this, you can overcome anything." She has devoted her life to being the person she needed when she was desperate and hurting, a protector, a guide, a beacon of understanding. Her story has saved others in more ways than one, encouraging abuse victims to speak up, inspiring those with suicidal thoughts to hold on one more day, and educating law enforcement on handling trauma survivors with care. In a powerful epilogue to her saga, Lisa confronted her demon one last time. Bobby Joe Long, the man who nearly destroyed her, was sentenced to death for his crimes. 35 years after Lisa's 26-hour nightmare, she sat in the front row of the execution chamber as Long was executed in 2019. She watched the man who had haunted her for decades take his last breath. Lisa later said she wished she could have spoken to him before he died. Not to curse him, but to say 2 words: "Thank you." Shocking as that sounds, Lisa explained that, in a twisted way, Long's actions ended up giving her a reason to live. From the moment he kidnapped her to the moment he let her go, he forced her to fight for her life. And that fight lit a fire of purpose in her that's never died. After it was over, Lisa went home and tore up the suicide note she had written. She chose life. Lisa McVey's story is proof that the human spirit can find light even in the deepest darkness. It's hard to imagine a more horrifying situation than the one she faced. Yet against all odds, this brave young woman found strength in herself that she never knew she had. She turned the tables on evil, using empathy, intelligence, and sheer willpower as her weapons. In doing so, she not only survived, she rediscovered the value of her own life. The very night that was meant to be her end became a new beginning. If Lisa's journey teaches us anything, it's that hope can be reborn in the most unlikely ways. One moment can change your life. The next time you feel hopeless or powerless, remember Lisa, the girl who wouldn't give up, Even when face to face with pure terror, remember that even in our darkest hour, we might discover just how badly we want to live.
Thank you for watching. If Lisa's courage moved you, please subscribe for more real-life stories that reveal the strength and wisdom in ordinary people. Stay safe, stay hopeful, and we'll see you in the next story. Don't forget to hug your loved ones, and as always, keep an eye out for the lessons in every story around you. Until next time, thank you.